On this episode of Inside Boxing Live, Errol Spence and Terence Crawford have broken their silence. They are tweeting each other non-stop. We'll talk about that. A fight that we're not getting. We'll also talk about a fight that we are getting this weekend. Dimitri Bivol versus Bivol-Ramirez, a 50-50 matchup in the light heavyweight division. We have our top 5 performances of the year. We have headlines. We have Rony's Rocky review. We have a lot to talk about today. Let's get into it. What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Inside Boxing Live, the best boxing podcast in the world, a production of John Boy Media. Dan Canelo, joined as always by former 140-pound world champion Chris Algieri, former ISKA kickboxing legend, former unforgettable actor, played a dead man, and he is alive because boxing is alive, I think. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing a little better than boxing is right now, but we're still kicking.
Listen, man, these are ebbs and flows. To be a boxing fan is you have to live with the down times to cherish the good times. This still is a good year for the sport. Obviously, it's been marred by Spence and Crawford, and we're going to get into that. Both guys have spoken. Crawford did an Instagram Live, which was bizarre. I watched the whole thing. I did a whole video on it. I transcribed it, Chris. It was nuts. Did you catch any of that?
I did, and I like that he's going out of the box to make it known what's going on. People are going to be on the side of the fence no matter what, but at least he's being real and raw and just talking to his people. So I like it.
Yeah, he did. That's one thing that was the knock on Crawford over the years. It was like, this guy never, speaks. He doesn't do a lot of interviews. You never really know what he's thinking. Never know what he's saying. Obviously, now he's promoting a fight that doesn't have ESPN behind it. So, he has to come out and say and do these things. But to get you up to speed on what Crawford said, and a lot of fans have known it by now, but haven't heard our official thoughts on it and Chris's thoughts on it. Crawford came out and spoke, and I want to get your thoughts on this from a fighter that has been in the negotiating table, has seen these contracts, has been a part of big fights, Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence, Amir Khan. So Crawford says that the first communication that they had was not a contract, it was a proposal. It was a proposal for a contract, and it came in May. You got to keep in mind, Spence fought in April of this year when he beat Ugas. So in May, Crawford gets a proposal, and in the proposal it says, doesn't say anything about a guarantee, it just pretty much has back-end money. Crawford was like, wait a second, I don't get a guarantee. I've gotten a guarantee my whole career. It's standard procedure in boxing. You get $3 million, $5 million. Some cases balloon up to $20 million with Deontay Wilder got in his last fight with Polinius. So no guarantee in the contract. He says an offer didn't come until August. He heard nothing from May until August. 35% of the pay-per-view is what Crawford said. Crawford was willing to take that, but wanted more transparency. That's something you talked about last time, is that you don't get that, especially when it's not your promoter. It's Al Heyman dealing with it. Crawford said, you know what, I maybe will be willing to take zero guarantee if I could just see the books, see how this fight does, see all the money that's in there. Didn't hear anything from Heyman. This is all according to Crawford. Didn't hear anything from Heyman. Then at that point, this is when it gets real juicy, Chris. Crawford calls up Spence himself and says, I have a hedge fund that is willing to put up $50 million for this fight. 25 apiece. We're living in an era where they steal pay-per-views. We're living in an era where people aren't ordering pay-per-views. The market is getting smaller and smaller. Why not take that risk out? Let's just, it sucks maybe to put a cap on what we can make, but do you think we'd really make $25 million if it was on regular pay-per-view and we were getting that percentage? Spence said, I like the idea, but I got to go back to my guy, Al Heyman, which all we know, these fighters are very loyal to Al, and rightfully so. They make them a lot of money. Radio silence. They don't hear anything. They pretty much say, this is the offer, take it or leave it. Then Crawford moves on to the fight with the VZ. That is what Crawford said. So with all that being said, Chris, what did you make of all those things?
I like the playing chicken with promoter's idea that Crawford's doing to try and get himself as much money as possible because he deserves it. I think the fighters deserve the lion's share anyway. So going after, I had a very similar situation with my fight with Pacquiao, which I negotiated myself, my You know, you got to be willing to risk it all in order to get the most out of these situations, because just like any employer-employee relationship, they'll pay you as little as you'll take. So fighters who don't speak up and just take what they're given, you know, they're missing out, and there's a lot more money in the pot than anyone really knows about. So, you know, I mean, he's going for it. I mean, it's risky. He's an older fighter now at this stage, and he never had that big major payday. So he's going for it. He's going for for all of it. But in the same token, he's got to fight against a pretty tough guy in Avis.
No, you gotta get that right. I think it's not Avasian, it's Avasadian. I fucked it up too.
Avasadian.
No. David. Let's call him David.
David, right. No disrespect to him.
Right, he's very good.
Very good fighter. Super tough guy. And Crawford's making 10 mil. So he's fighting a lesser name for still a lot of money. And probably, you know, that's going to be one of the bigger pennies in his career. You know, so I like what he's doing. He's going for it. He's still getting paid. He's still fighting. It's not like he's just sitting out waiting for the big one. But to the point of Spence having to go back and talk to Al, he's contractually obligated to do that. It's not like he can just be like, all right, yeah, let's do it. But, you know, forget that guy. No, he has to. He can't just take the fight and not go to Al and tell him what's going on.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. The hedge fund, you say you're going for it, and you know it's wise to try to make as much money as possible. Hedge fund though, like, do you really? I don't know if I trust that. Like when Crawford pulled out that line on the IG Live, I was like, really? I mean, yeah, maybe it's out there, but how many times have we heard? And you probably know this too as a fighter. Like, oh, there's hedge fund money out there. There's this, that, and the other. Like Pacquiao was in Ryan Garcia. There was supposed to be some hedge fund money. It just didn't seem like a real plan from Crawford. It seemed like he was grasping at straws a little bit, because if there is 50 million out there, yeah, it's awesome. And Crawford says, oh, these hedge fund guys know Al Heyman. They know you, Al. And apparently they never backed up on it. Heyman said, you know what? No one else is touching this fight. This is a PBC fight, or it's no fight at all. I want to go back to the guarantee, though. Have you ever heard of a pay-per-view fight or a fight of this stature where neither fighter is getting a guarantee?
No, especially not against level type guys. But back to my point. I'm not saying that going for the 50 million, because I don't know if 50 million is a real thing. I just like the fact that he's using that as a token to try and get this deal done. Is my point. Not that that he should go that way, you know. But I like the fact that he's going head to head with Morris to try and get paid, or to push the fight, push the action. Yeah, I don't. You know, in terms of the hedge fund, is it real? Is it not? Who knows? For all intents and purposes, I would imagine Crawford thinks it's real. But it very well may not be, like you said. Definitely not a safe bet. But yeah, I mean, I know I've never heard of a 0% guarantee. That's ballsy on Crawford's account for being okay with that. But yeah, no, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I don't know what it really says for the PBC. Like, I've heard different things out there. You know, maybe they took that hit on the Wilder fight, and that's not something they want to do again. And yeah, I've never heard of that. Like, I don't know if Spence pretty much admitted to it last night when they went back and forth. I counted 35 tweets back and forth at each other last night between Spence and Crawford. That's the CompuBox tweets, so we counted them too. 35, but in one of them, Spence is like, I didn't have a guarantee either. You know, I didn't have a guarantee. So that's when caught people off guard. It's like, wait a second, neither of you guys have a guarantee for one of the biggest fights. Like, you're just going to take back end money. So I don't know if Spence was like, listen, if he's not getting a guarantee, I won't get one either. This is all stuff that, unfortunately, it's boiled down to fans. There are some fans that are interested in how the sausage is made. There's a lot of fans that don't give a damn about these details, that we're just not getting the fight. But, you know, Crawford finally spoke up, and, you know, I have been saying both sides are to blame. And now that we've seen both sides of it, I mean, I don't know how you cannot say that both sides are to blame. Like, PBC kind of giving like I don't would say shady, but a different type of deal to Crawford. Crawford says, you know what, no, I have this hedge fund, and I don't blame Heyman for saying that, no, I don't want to go that route. And then even Spence himself said, I can't blame you, Crawford, for going out and getting $10 million to fight Avesian. Like, listen, it's all sides. It sucks. We're not getting the fight, but you can see now everything involved with it. But I will say this. If you take a look at the track records of the two guys, Terence Crawford, particularly his track record, very hard to work with at Top Rank. Never got a big fight with Top Rank. Never got Pacquiao. Never got any of these big names. Like, he is tough to work with. He's made some questionable business decisions. Then you take a look over at Errol Spence's side and Heyman's side. They make big fights. Spence has been at Cowboy Stadium, 40,000. He has 3 belts. I mean, if you just take a look, I honestly do believe that the PBC side and Spence's side did everything they possibly could to make the fight and have a way better track record than Crawford has.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's more of a push for them to make it as well because Spence's time at 147 is dwindling, and he might not ever fight at 47 into this fight either way. So they're trying to get that biggest money fight, and that would be the biggest money fight until he goes up to 54. And there's some huge fights up there as well. You got the Charlo brothers, and
Fundora,
not really well known yet in terms of making money, but there's some really big fights up there for him. He's gonna make money down the line, but I think they're trying to maximize their 47 plus. And Disputed is big, that is historic. So they definitely want to get that docket. And Crawford, he's trying to get that big payday. This is that first big shot.
Yeah, I know. And Crawford did say that. Yeah, I know. Unless you count Porter, but Porter was literally retired after the fight and was kind of like a shell of his former self. But Crawford did say on the IG Live that I heard through the grapevine that Spence will be fighting Thurman. And you have said that you don't want to fight Thurman, and you said you don't want to fight him. You don't want to give him that chance because he didn't give you that chance. I think Crawford was trying to say, like, listen, you're not even your own boss. Like, you don't even make the decisions for yourself. Like, you've told everyone you're not fighting Thurman, and that's who you're going to be fighting next. Spence did say that I will be fighting someone next. Mine's not a tune-up. His is. So they left it open-ended. They said, well, we will revisit this, but Crawford burned a lot of bridges with that Instagram Live, kind of exposing how the PBC was handling this, and who knows? Right now, I don't think it's ever going to happen. Like, why would we think it is? But that's the latest. So maybe it'll be Spence Thurman. You heard Spence Thurman?
I did hear that, and I like that fight, and not so much because of where Thurman is in terms of his career at this point, because he's kind of sputtered out in the last couple of years because he's been so inactive.
Right.
But I think historically, it's really important to take out one of those top horses at the welterweight division who's been around for years. And he's one of those guys. He's fought everybody. He beat some of the top guys. He beat Sean Porter. He beat Danny Garcia. Mm-hmm. So having that head on your docket is another feather in the cap for Spence's career.
Right, and make some money too. I mean, that's what it's all about. And the PBC needs to make money. They need to make money on Spence and Stanonius, Boots, Virgil Ortiz. I think they would make some money, but not the same amount as Thurman, who is a very known commodity, as you just illustrated. So that's the latest on Spence Crawford. I think fans are kind of at their wits' end with it. Kind of just want to move on, talk about the fights that we are getting. A big fight this weekend, Bivol-Ramirez. We're going to preview that in a little bit. Ronnie is here with us. We have Ronnie's Rocky Review. Ronnie, Rocky Review. We'll get to it at the end, but apparently he says it's going to be wild. He has thoughts.
I have so many thoughts I need to discuss that might be worth listening to.
Yeah, so that's coming.
He's gonna break the internet.
He's going to say Rocky was overrated. Yeah, that's coming next. But some headlines. We have a lot of headlines to get to. There's a lot going on in the world. So, Ronnie, take it away with the headline segment.
So, guys, to start off with headlines, the first one we got is Canelo is out till September after hand surgery.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a while, Chris. He talked about it after the fight with Golovkin. I saw something on Instagram, like he had a cast on, like I would say like 2 weeks ago. He very subtle, like put it on his Instagram story. But now he's just straight up, listen, I got hand surgery, the cast is off. They're saying maybe May, but most likely September. If anyone needs a break and needs some time off, it's Canelo Alvarez. But this is interesting to me because now this opens up the May date. And that's a date that Canelo has had for years now. It's one of the biggest dates you can have in boxing, Cinco de Mayo weekend. This opens up a lot of options for PBC or Matchroom or whoever to pencil someone in that weekend. It could be Wilder Ruiz. It could be Benavidez and Plant, because guess what? Benavidez versus Uzcategui, that fight's off. So what's your initial reaction to Canelo getting the hand surgery, sitting out, and what it could mean for the rest of boxing?
They were dangling that idea, when it first happened in the fight, that it was going to be some time off. It would probably be a long time off. As soon as they say that, I knew it was going to be pretty much the maximum time off. It was going to be 6 months. It was going to be a return. If they put it out there, they're kind of fishing around. It might be like a year until he's in the ring. It's going to be a year then, because that's just how things work. And the guy deserves it. He's been very active the last couple of years. But in terms of the state of boxing, it's tough, man. you don't have a Mexican star to fight during in May, that's a big issue for boxing on a whole. It opens up the door for guys like you said, Ian Ruiz fight. Not necessarily, I'm nowhere near a Canelo type star, but he's a Mexican heavyweight, first Mexican heavyweight in history. We were talking about Zurdo Ramirez. He's fighting this weekend. He could potentially be lined up for that kind of spot.
Right, if he wins.
Yeah, he'd be a huge star, and this would be a great opportunity for him to take advantage of that vacuum that is created by Canelo being out.
Yeah, it's definitely a vacuum. You're right, and we're gonna see how it matriculates. I would say like Wilder Ruiz would probably be the favorite in my opinion to get that weekend. Obviously, you want to have a Mexican fighter in there, and Ruiz, Deontay Wilder. Even though our next headline will maybe tip our hand on what Wilder might do next, but I brought up the Uzcategui Benavidez fight. Remember we talked about this last week, and we were like, this fight sucks. They let go of it. I mean, who was it? Benavidez's manager said we're not doing that fight with public backlash. So if you're a fan,
they listen to our show.
I wouldn't be shocked.
If you're or not into this fight, people are into it. It's awful.
Yeah, we move the needle. I mean, we are needle movers.
We do.
But to be real for a second, like a lot of fans were like disgusted by that fight and public backlash. I mean, I like that promoters are listening to it. I like that the fans are ultimately the ones that pay for these fights and want to watch these fights. I put out a tweet saying it's a massive waste of time. We talked about it on the show. We don't want to see Benavidez against these no-hopers. I mean, like, find someone better. And it seems like his team is going to go out there and find a bigger fight, whether it's David Morrell, whether it's Caleb Plant. Come on. Caleb Plant, Benavidez, on Cinco de Mayo weekend, Las Vegas, is a no-brainer. It is a banger of a fight. It is something fresh. It's something new. You can make it a pay-per-view. That's the fight. I mean, they should do everything they can to try to make that fight.
Boxing is almost never a democracy, but sometimes you get what you vote for, and people just didn't want that Uzcategui fight. And if that pushes us into that plan, Benavidez fight, that's awesome. And it's great news to the sport. And like you said, that's a no-brainer for the Cinco de Mayo weekend. Maybe pack the card with some other top Mexican guys. I mean, I'm really interested in that fight. I think that's a great fight, especially with the way Caleb looked at his last fight. He really impressed me with Terrell. I still don't think he beats Benavidez. I really think Benavidez is the monster of the division. But I'm sure as I want to see it.
All right, cool. That's one of the headlines. Ronnie, what do you got?
Next up, speaking of moving the needle, we have Joshua and Wilder's teams are talking.
Yeah, this came out. I saw this. Eddie Hearn indicated that Shelly Finkel finally replied to one of his emails from months ago. Hearn says that this is one of the fights that he has to make. I mean, going back to 2017, when these two first were champions at the same time, and the fight should have been made. I still think there's an appetite for it, especially with what we saw from Wilder. Take a look. Wilder couldn't hit the numbers for that pay-per-view were bad. He needs a big dance partner, whether it's Ruiz, whether it's Joshua, whether it's Usyk. I hope it's Joshua. They're having talks. I mean, we just spent the beginning of the show talking about talks. That's what we do lately is talk about talks. But it is encouraging, and I do think they should do everything they can to salvage that fight because the window is still open for it. It's like barely open. It's a crack. But that fight happens, I still think it could be electric.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Wilder Palladium numbers are so horrific. $75 grand on a pay-per-view is piss poor. So I think they really want to move the needle as much as they can with Wilder. But with these heavyweights now, especially all these guys who were literally the kings of the sport of the heavyweight division a couple years ago, who are now a bunch of some hard losses, guys fell off. So I think they're trying to maximize the amount of money they can make with these guys while the names are still relevant. And in that case, the Joshua Wilder fight makes no sense.
It's funny. We're seeing some matriculation from that Wilder fight. It's like, you know what? Like, they took a bath on that. I mean, $20 million guarantee. It doesn't do anything. I know. Right.
The marketing for the fight was nil. So I think you see that a lot with a lot of the PBC fighters that they're not really marketed that well to the people who are outside the sport. And to get big numbers, you need those crossover outlets.
Right, and maybe, the Spence Crawford, they're paying for that. No guarantee for them. Why guarantee for Wilder Hellenius when we know that Spence Crawford could do anywhere between like at least 500,000. I mean, you'd think. I don't know. The market is so volatile now, but right, like at least.
Crossover appeal for that fight. I think the Spence Crawford, their names are big enough. They've been around long enough, and I think if it's marketed the right way, with enough time. That's why when they were talking about it happening in November, I was like, no way. It was September and it wasn't announced yet. Like, there's no way there's enough time to make this the fight that it needs to be, especially in order to make money and sell pay-per-views to get these guys. And there's zero guarantee.
You really think so? You really don't think it could be that? It could be that big, or you really think it needs more marinating? I think it's been marinating for like 5 years.
No, not marinating per se, but I mean, I think in terms of marketing for once a date is set, you gotta give a fight like that at least 2 full months, 10 weeks, 12 weeks to not only train you to build that fight up. I did a press tour for the Pacquiao fight. They were trying to build pay-per-views for that too, and I mean, it was like 2.5 months prior. We were flying all over the world to market that thing and to promote it, like true promoting. And I think when you want to get crossover appeal, you got to do that. You got to put the money into the marketing because this just letting it go out there and have people just tune in isn't working.
Yeah, I think Spence did say that there was going to be some type of tour too. Like they kind of did away with those. They haven't done those since your Pacquiao days.
That was the last one. That was the last world tour ever done. It was fun, but it's a lot of things.
Go ahead, Ron.
Next up, we have Emmanuel Navarrete versus Oscar Valdez penciled in for 130.
See, that's what I'm talking about, people. We're getting big fights. You might have to wait a little bit. February 3rd, Super Bowl weekend, or the week before Super Bowl, is when we will get Emmanuel Navarrete versus Oscar Valdez at 130 pounds. Navarrete moving up from featherweight. Valdez obviously was a former 130-pound champ before he got upended by Shakur. Love this fight. I mean, this is your brawler versus boxer, two Mexicans. I mean, this is going to be a really good fight, and Top Rank is on a roll.
This reminds me of when Valdez signed a fight for Michelle. And Michelle at the time he was an axe murderer of the division. My God, he was blowing guys out. He was super, super tough, very, very dangerous, big, strong. That's kind of how Navarrete is at this point. I do think he's more solid, especially in terms of his ability to take punches than Michelle ever was. But he is a smaller guy coming out. Valdez is probably not going to be the bigger man, even though he's in the higher weight class. Navarrete's huge. I've been in fighter meetings with him. He's a really, really big 22, 26, 30-pounder. So it's an interesting matchup. I'm curious to see how Navarrete looks at 130. And with Valdez obviously, he can punch. He's got a great boxing ability, and he showed that in the Michelle fight. So being the guy who's more comfortable with the weight class but also has power, I think this makes this fight that much more interesting.
I love it. I think Top Rank is doing great things, getting these fights.
Top Rank's doing top to bottom really well in terms of their new prospects they're signing and the big fights they're making. It's awesome.
Yeah, and they're on a roll. I mean, they have a really good roster. They have a very big network behind them. Whether the fights are ended up on ESPN Plus, which has like, I think they have surpassed like 20 million subscribers. Like, it's not a big deal if a fight's on ESPN Plus, or whether it's on regular ESPN. December 10th, they got Teofimo and Pedraza. They have Big Baby on that, Anderson on that card. They have Keyshawn Davis on that card. That is great. So to see them putting together another really good fight, like these Friday night ESPN fights, is a good thing. I mean, there's a lot of really good fights for the first few months of 2023. I know some fight fans don't want to hear that or don't want to wait that long, but if you take a look, I mean, Charlo Zhu, Catterall versus Taylor rematch is the Saturday after the same weekend as Valdez and Navarrete. There's some fights being made. Beterbiev versus Yard. Usyk and Fury might be tangling in the first quarter of 2023. So I like to be positive. I like to look ahead, and I honestly think there are a lot of big fights on the horizon. Ronnie?
Next up, guys, what we have is... Sorry, let me just find it. Amanda Serrano versus Erica Cruz is next for remaining 126 belt.
Love this. So I'm glad to say that I was wrong. We talked about this last week on Sunday's show. Like, I said that I don't think that Serrano will go to Ireland. Well, first off, she's going to be fighting. I was partially right.
Remember, I did.
Yes.
I said it was going to be winning.
I was partially right here. I said that her next fight would be at 126, and that seems like what it's going to be. Erica Cruz is the last remaining belt holder at 126 that Serrano has not beaten, and WBA has worked out a way for them to fight each other. I can see that happening in the first 2 or 3 months of 2023, and then I like this. Serrano says that she will go to Ireland for the Taylor rematch. I'm kind of shocked by this, but I'm also like pumped. Like I want to see it in Ireland. We want to fight Katie Taylor in Ireland at Croke Park. Serrano's brother-in-law and career-long head trainer-manager, that's Jordan Maldonado, to the boxing scene. She deserves to fight in her home country. In fact, we don't want to fight her anywhere else except for Ireland. Interesting.
That is very cool, very respectful. I appreciate that. You know, Taylor won the first one, but also I think they understand that this is good for women's boxing on the whole. I think taking it somewhere who's wildly as popular as she is, taking it to her home country, that's going to make a huge event. And I tip my hat to Team Serrano for taking that trip, going over there, you know, for the good of the sport. So yeah, that's cool. Very respectful. I like that.
All right, Ronnie, we got the audio. Some people are saying Chris is low. I'm hot.
I put him up all the way here. So
I don't know what's going on.
Put him up all the way.
I can hear Chris in my ear.
Might be the new mic.
The new mic.
Well,
mic sounds perfect.
We sound great in our ears. So.
All right, let's keep it moving then.
All right, I got one last headline for you, Dan.
What do you got?
Last one, we got Serrano says she will go to
said that.
the rematch.
Yeah, brother.
I thought I'd hit.
Ronnie's trying to fix our mics. He's doing a million things at once.
Yeah,
It's all good. I just said that Serrano will travel to Ireland. It's okay, bro. That's all right.
Yeah, this is what happens when you get a live show. You get to see the inner workings of how things can go wrong.
Yeah, we're keeping it moving. Should we move on to our top 5 list before we get to the Bivol-Ramirez and we got the Ronnie's Rocky review top 5 list? Are we ready to do that? I'm ready to do that.
Let's do that.
Top 5 performances of the year. We're, I can't believe it, 10 months down into this year, front loaded because there were a lot of good fights in the beginning of the year, not so many in the last couple of months. I will start.
We had a good one scheduled. We had a good schedule set up. It just didn't work out for anyone.
Right. Yeah, we could do that. Like best. Our next 5 can be best fights that didn't happen. It can make It can make a very long list for that one. But I'll start it off. I will go with number 5. I have Clarissa Shields win over Savannah Marshall. One of the better performances of the year. Shields landed 40% of her power. She landed 44 jabs. That's 44 jabs were a career high. How about this? By the second round of this fight, Shields had landed 35 power punches. That's more power punches than Marshall opponent had ever landed on her. So it was all Shields in this one against the ropes. She landed, and she had the biggest win of her career, and she looked awesome. Number 4, Shakur Stevenson over Oscar Valdez. Absolutely disarmed Valdez. Was toying with him in there. Knocked him down at one point. Pretty much made Valdez look, like a novice in there. That's how good Shakur Stevenson is, and Stevenson is on a rocket ship to the top, number 4. Number 3, this fight happened just this past week. Kenshiro Tarahashi, his big win over Hiroto Kyoguchi. That was at 108 pounds. And a 50-50 fight on paper that Kenshiro absolutely dominated this fight, Chris. Knocked him down twice. Huge win for Kenshiro. I had that in number 3. These lower weights don't get a lot of love, so I wanted to put them on there. Number 2, speaking of the lower weights, Bam Rodriguez, who had himself a year, probably one of the he's the fighter of the year contender if Bivol could get past Ramirez. But Bam Rodriguez over Rung Visai. Look at these numbers, man. 66% power connect rate. 66% of his power shots, 14 jabs around. Outlanded Rung Visai 101-28 over the final 3 rounds, dominating every facet of the game. Bam Rodriguez over a really good opponent, Rung Visai, a guy that was a champion for many years. So Bam Rodriguez, number 2. And number 1, I got Dimitri Bivol over Canelo Alvarez. Obviously, a fight one of the biggest upsets of the year and a performance of the year, in my opinion. Limited Canelo, just 27% power. And keep in mind, Canelo came into that fight landing almost 50%. He disarmed Canelo. Canelo landed in single digits in 10 of the 12 rounds. Bivol controlled the fight. His coming out party. That's is the performance of the year.
Nice. I like how we have usually we have different ideas about these kind of the top fives. I love these top fives. I put a lot of thought into them. They're a lot of fun. You really have to dig deep. But so my top five. Number 5, I got Fedora and Lubin. I thought Fedora, this is his coming out party for his young career. Big step up. Is one of those classic crossroad fights with two prospects. Who's going to step into the contender status? Fedora did it in fantastic fashion. I think we're going to see him around for a long time. Next, Inoue versus Donaire 2. Inoue, I called this fight live at 3 o'clock in the morning because it was over in Japan, and I was totally blown away. Donaire is a friend of mine, someone that I've been a huge fan of for his absolutely stellar career, and the way that Inoue was able to completely dominate and completely control him. The guy threw one right hand in the first round, and that punch dropped Donaire. And he came out and hurt him again with the left hook. I mean, it was so complete, even though it was only a 2-round destruction. Absolutely incredible performance from Inoue. Next, third one, this got on here because I just like this fight. Charlo and Castaño.
Oof.
Because the first fight was awesome, and there was argument either way who could have won the fight. Obviously, in a draw. Castaño took all that he could give and gave it back just as much, if not more, in the first fight. And then Charlo came out in this fight and didn't take his foot off the gas. Like he boxed, but he was willing to trade and mix it up. He got hit with some big shots, and for him to be able to win the way he did and stop Castaño in a heated rematch, very, very impressive performance, and it was fun. Next, so I'm switching my top 2 with your top 2.
Okay.
I've got Bivol, his performance against Canelo as number 2, because I kind of expected Bivol to win that fight.
Really?
I didn't like the matchup. Yeah, I didn't like the matchup at all. I think the size. So, little known fact, I was in the corner with Sullivan Barrera the night that he fought Dimitri Bivol at the Garden, and I got to see him firsthand, and I saw how good he was and his ability to control the distance, and I thought that was going to give the smaller Canelo a lot of trouble, and the matchup was just all wrong, and it turned out that way. So Dimitri saw go out there and do what he did. He did it with one of the best, arguably the best fighter in the world, so tip my hat, tip to him. But man, Jesse Rodriguez and Rungvisai, that's my number 1 performance of the year. He had that kind of break into the world title discussion when he beat Quadras on 10 days notice and jumped up 2 weight classes. But this was like he had a real training camp. He was coming up being a world champion for the very first time and fighting a very, very tough, durable, dangerous champion who's been around for a long time, and he completely dominated and got the knockout. So for me, that was the breakout performance of 2022.
Those are some good performances, man. William Cepeda over Diaz could be on your list. 1,600 punches, broke all sorts of records. Usyk over Joshua, that 10th round.
That was my honorable mention. I thought that Usyk fought. I thought Joshua fought a much better fight, and Usyk still was able to dig deep and find the next year win.
Yeah, when Usyk was able to find that 10th round, was stuff of legends to win the title, retain the titles. Spence over Ugas too. Spence threw 82 punches around in that fight. Looked like a freaking world beater. I'm sure there's some other ones in there that we want to get to, but that is our top 5 performances of the year. Now it's time to get into the main event of this weekend and the main event of this show, and that is a huge fight in the light heavyweight division, Chris. I'm excited for this, especially after the Spence Crawford nonsense, Ryan Garcia Tank nonsense, Fury Joshua nonsense. How about we start talking about fights that we are getting? 50-50 fights, or at least in some minds, a light heavyweight clash between a guy that just beat Canelo Alvarez and an undefeated fighter, Gilberto Ramirez. I love this fight. Bivol and Zurdo. Let's go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You got me?
No.
You got me? You got me, yeah. Bivol and Zurdo. I'm pumped.
I like this fight. I like this fight a lot. I like the timing of the fight, too. We're seeing guys fighting closer to their prime. It's not like we're waiting 5 years when guys are over the hill. They're both undefeated. They're both fantastic fighters. It's a meaningful fight too. It's going to be the true champion at light heavyweight. Other than
Yeah, I was gonna say.
better be the demon that lives amongst them. But yeah, no, this this fight is an interesting matchup stylistically too. Zurdo is a problem for anyone. He's tall, he's long, he's big, he's a southpaw. He's a great body puncher. He's a nightmare for a lot of reasons. But so is Bivol in a different way, much more technical than physical prowess. But I mean, his in and out stance, that really, really good sharp jab, his combination of punching, the way he lets his hands go, and he's got good defensive as well. So Bivol, I think, gives trouble to anybody. It really is, I think, a 50-50 fight. But I think that Bivol not only increased his stock with the win over Canelo, I think he even understood how much better he is and how good he actually is, and I think he's going to ride that. One of two things can happen after big wins like that. Guys can either fall off because they get complacent, or they step up their game. It's kind of like when you win a title and the guy gets 20-30% better his very next fight.
Yeah.
I kind of see it like that. So I'm pulling for Bivol to win this fight, but it's going to be hotly contested throughout.
One reason I don't think Bivol is going to become complacent is because he is saying all the right things. They're asking him about a Canelo rematch all week long, and he's told numerous different outlets that are there covering this fight, I am not focused on fighting Canelo again. I mean, what fighter has said that? First of all these fighters are standing in line waiting for Canelo to come and choose them, and you got Bivol saying, you know what, I don't want a rematch with him. I'm focused on Beterbiev. I'm focused on Zurdo. I'm focused on being undisputed at light heavyweight. You have to respect that. I mean, that's number one. The thing I respect about Bivol is this is a guy that we should be celebrating, man. I know he doesn't do a lot of interviews, and he doesn't have the highest profile, and his fighting style might not be for everyone. I'm going to talk about his fighting style in just a bit, but this is a guy that is saying the right things. He just wants to be the best. He had that whole HBO machine behind him, and he kind of stalled out a little bit. In that fight, Canelo ended in single digits in 10 of the 12 rounds. And it's a guy that boxing fans should get behind, especially today, in today's day where these guys aren't fighting as much and we're not getting the fights that we want. Bivol's going from Canelo Alvarez to undefeated Zurdo Ramirez, who on fight night could be anywhere between 200 and 205 pounds in the ring. His last fight, he was 204. Ramirez. This is a big guy. Let's talk about Ramirez first before we get to Bivol.
Seems rejuvenated at 175. Seems rejuvenated since he signed with Golden Boy. I think some fighters just make sense for certain promoters, and I think that Gilberto Ramirez, being a Mexican and being very popular in Southern California, just fits Golden Boy, and he's been able to do some good things at 175. He's 5-0 with 5 knockouts since moving up to 175. He throws 72 punches a round at 175. And I love this. This is a stark difference from Bivol. 60% of Zurdo's thrown punches are power shots. He's coming to brawl. He's coming to take you out. 6'3", like you talked about, 75-inch reach. Can blow up to heavyweight when he steps into the ring on Saturday night. I really like Zurdo, and another guy that kind of fell off the map a little bit, but can come back in a very big way if he can beat Bivol.
Yeah, no, this is a huge opportunity for him. And we spoke about that when we we're talking about Cinco de Mayo with the vacuum left by Canelo being out. With a win this weekend, Zurdo Ramirez could be the next Mexican superstar. This is a huge fight to beat the man who beat Canelo. It just makes sense that he would be stepping into that line and filling that void, for at least for the time being. And then, I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on this, mostly because of Bivol, in his last performance. People go, "Oh, this is the guy that beat Canelo. Who's this guy he's fighting?" If you don't know who it is, but for those in the boxing world, this is a fight that everyone's going to be tuned in on, and one that I'm happy is happening as like a loner weekend. Like, it's just, there's no other fights. This is the fight for the weekend. It's not getting lost in the shuffle, and it has the opportunity to create a great fight and a good opportunity for fans to see these guys do their thing.
Not only that, I love that you have Hearn and Oscar there. I know they had to come together from a purse bid, and they were almost forced to make a deal on this fight. But just like the picture, I tweeted out, just like the photo op of Hearn and De La Hoya, like shaking hands, smiling. These are two guys that, obviously the history of Canelo Alvarez, and Canelo was with Oscar for years, and now he's with Hearn. It's almost like Oscar is now hanging out with his ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend. And it's like, but it's good to see. Like the symbolism is there. Like, can't we all get along? Like the promoters working together is great for the sport. So I like that visual, especially after some of the nonsense we've gotten in the last couple of weeks. Also love it because I just think it's going to be a good fight. You know, a 50-50 fight, light heavyweight, a division that I think is on the rise. You know, take a look at the division right now. You have Beterbiev, who's clear number one at light heavyweight. He's got 3 of the belts. He's undefeated. He's stopped every opponent. He's number one. Bivol,
he's got to be the scariest man in boxing.
Seriously, that guy's
absolutely the scariest man in boxing. He's the boogeyman right now.
Beast. At number 1, he's fighting Anthony Yard in February. Then you got Bivol.
I like that fight. Yard's in fun fights, and Beterbiev I think it's just another person for him to smash, but it'll be fun while it lasts.
Yeah, I've seen Ardio's perfect now, Ronnie. Perfect. I've seen worse mandatories than Yard versus Beterbiev. So
yes,
Beterbiev will probably get him out of there. I have Beterbiev number 1. Obviously, Bivol number 2. Those two seem like they're on a crash course. Bivol wants it, and Beterbiev wants it. They have to work through some negotiations and network stuff to get there. But 3 through 5, you know, it's pretty wide open. You know, you got Gilberto Ramirez, you got Callum Smith, who's knocking guys out. You got a new kid on the block, and Joshua Buatsi. You got these gatekeepers, and I use that, you know, not derogatory at all. Craig Richards, some other names that won.
He's tough.
Pascal. There are names at this division. This division for a while was kind of not good. It was kind of mid, but now it's looking good. It's looking good with Beterbiev and Bivol and Ramirez. So I think that's another thing too, is like getting these, you know, getting big fights in divisions that you need a little bit of a spotlight on them.
Yeah, I forgot about Smith. I forgot that he's at 75 now, and he's been looking scary at the weight. That's one of those guys that definitely improved by moving up, similar to Gilberto Zurdo. I'm curious to see where he ends up in this mix with those top 5 guys, because he could very well be in with the very top guys at any point and sometime soon. We just got to see him step his competition up a little bit. The last couple guys that he fought were, you know, expected to win, but he won spectacularly.
Yeah, so the winner of this should solidify themselves as number 2 for sure, even though I have Bivol at number 2, maybe even 1A. I'll get your thoughts on that in a second, but just to put a bow on Ramirez, how do you think Ramirez, like, can he get through 60% of his thrown punches are power shots? He has knockout power, throws 72 punches around. Will he be able to land on Bivol? Because I'll give you some of Bivol's metrics in a bit. Really, really hard to land on. What is Gilberto Ramirez's path to victory against Bivol?
It's got to be the jab. I don't think the combination of punching and throwing power shots is a great lead-in. If you're not setting up that power, which Gilberto generally doesn't have to as much because of his length. He's able to just walk guys down. When you're taller and longer than someone, every fight starts at a distance. So range is your number 1 asset. So he has that range. He doesn't need to utilize the jab as much because he's I can hit you before you can hit me. Going to be different with Bivol. Bivol's in and out. That in and out style that he has is going to change the range often. So that critical distance line is going to be constantly changing. So he's going to have to use his jab to either feint his way in, land those shots, and then get him in front of you so you can actually land those shots. Because for the most part, Bivol, when he's in that mid to outside range, he's in and out, and he's moving. And he's not in that place to get hit, which is why his defense is so good. He's not a guy who's sitting there slipping shots. He's actually stepping out of range. So in order for Zurdo to get to within range where we can let those hands go for the combination punching that he usually is, he's going to have to jab his way in.
Champion in the chat says, y'all got to push Algieri's face and name more for this channel because I didn't know he was on this channel. Well, now you know, Champion. Tell your friends.
Tell your friends.
Spread the word. Yeah, we do this every week. Sunday. We do twice a week now. Sunday or Monday morning and Thursday.
Monday, Thursday.
And we have a lot of big things coming in the future. But yeah, Bivol's a beast. Some of these numbers are absolutely absurd. He gets a knock or he gets criticized. Oh, he's boring. All he does is jab, and he doesn't get hit. But how about being elite at what you're known for? Like being the very best jabber, not named Golovkin, and having the best defense in boxing. I think that's a good thing. So if you're going to be known for 2 things, be the best at them. And that's certainly Dmitry Bivol. How about this? Bivol has not been outlanded in his last 37 rounds. And 75 of 76 overall. 12 of those rounds against Canelo. Has fought decent opposition, but that list, I don't care who's on that list. You're professional. 2 professionals getting in a ring, and you have not been outlanded in 37 rounds in 75 of your last 76. He's not been outlanded since 2018 in a round. That is crazy. Also,
crazy. And at the level that he's been, like you said, they're maybe not the most known, but they're all world-class guys.
right, and Bivol has limited his opponents to single digits in 130 of his last 141 rounds. What did he do to Canelo? He held Canelo to under 10 connects in 10 of the 12 rounds. Canelo came into this fight on top of the world, 48% of his power shots, landing at will, knocking dudes out, taking people out, being dominant. Bivol absolutely disarmed him. He limited him to 27%. This is what he does: jab and defense. Yes, I thought before the Canelo fight that I didn't think he threw his right hand enough. I didn't think he would be able to keep Canelo off of him. I didn't think he'd be able to have enough power. I was wrong, because he has just enough power, and his timing is perfect with that right hand to go along with a prolific jab and really good defense.
Yeah, like I said, the timing, the judge of distance. That was the thing that impressed me the most when I saw him live. It was the first round of the fight versus Sullivan Barrera, and Sullivan has longer reach. He stepped in with the jab. Bivol took a very deft step back, made Sullivan overreach, and then he stepped in with a very short, hard jab. Bang! And it landed clean and solid. And right then and there, I was like, we're in for a long night. Because someone who can control that distance that way and make it so effortless, even in the first round, is a problem.
Yeah, he's got a really good jab, too. Like I said, really good jab, really good defense. 65% of Bivol's thrown punches are jabs. 60% of Zurdo's punches are power shots. I love this style matchup from that aspect. It's like, which guy's going to be able to do what they do and implement their style. I always love to see how that plays out. Really good jab from Bivol. He's landed 388 jabs in his last 3 fights. Ramirez has landed 352 in his last 11. So that just shows the difference in how much Bivol jabs, almost to a fault, where people are like, hey man, throw that right hand. We want to see you throw that right hand. 18.1 plus minus rating. That's third in all of boxing. It's hit and don't get hit. His 9 jabs per round is second in all of boxing, only behind Golovkin. So I think
you're the numbers king. If a guy is out jabbing and not getting hit, he wins the fight.
Right?
Across the board. Every fighter who has a good jab and good defense is the top in their division. That's just the name of the game. That's what boxing is.
But it's not. Yeah, you're gonna win, but he goes the distance, and he doesn't have those knockouts, and it's why Golovkin became so popular. Golovkin has a really good jab. It's technically a little bit better than Bivol's, at least numbers wise. But
he's not harder. A lot harder,
and he knocked guys out. So therefore, he had a marketing machine behind him in HBO. Remember, Bivol was gonna be like the next Golovkin. They were going to Monte Carlo and having these showcase fights for Bivol, really pushing him, really getting behind him, and he did knock out guys early on, but something changed where he's like, I'll just UD, and that's fine. But you're not gonna get like the fame. You're not gonna get pushed to the front of the line. But he just keeps winning. And would you be shocked would you be shocked, Chris, if he unanimous decisions Gilberto Ramirez this weekend?
No, that's actually where I would if I had to put money on it, that's where I would go. That's all the writings on the wall for that, especially for me hearing the numbers right now. It's like that sounds like stylistically, even on paper, that this is a Bivol fight to win. But that being said, Bivol's one of those guys who he's not going to blow your socks off when he fights an okay fighter. He's not going to go out there and blow him out. He's not going to get a highlight reel knockout. But he's also the guy who's going to beat the best guy in the division. You take your top guy, and he's still going to beat him. It reminds me of like Shakur Stevenson when he fought Nakatila.
Yeah.
And Bob Arum asked me afterwards. He's like, "Well, what did you think of his performance?" And I said, "Well, listen, the kid was fighting a very dangerous guy with a big right hand, which showed later on his next fight with Burchell." And I was like, this is what he does. I'm like, but with a kid like him, just put him in big fights, because he's going to do the same thing to really good fighters, and that's going to get eyes. Because if you dominate someone who's not that good and people expect you to kill, nobody cares. But if you dominate someone who is a top guy, it really stands out. And I think that's Bivol's that kind of fighter. He's not the knockout guy. He's not the stunning guy. But he's going to upset the top.
Yeah, it's well said. That's really well said because that's the knock on him. It's like he kind of fights down to his competition and then fights up to his competition. I mean, look what he did against Canelo. You may have thought that he was going to win, but not Vegas didn't. A lot of people took Canelo in that one. Our boy Rob Tebbett over at ID Boxing News, he'll tell you till he's on his deathbed that he took Bivol to beat Canelo in that one. But is that the pick? I think I'm leaning towards a Bivol decision. I do think Ramirez, just from size standpoint, the thing with Canelo is he was just too small. He wasn't able to get a jab. He wasn't able to get through with anything. I think Ramirez will have more success than Canelo. Would you true or false?
I agree. I think he's going to make it a very interesting fight, and I think a lot of it's going to come from the body work. I think that there's opportunities for body shots in there, and different than Canelo, who's a single body shot punch guy. He's looking for the left hook to the liver, and like he'll throw one big one and then kind of look at it. Zurdo's not like that. He throws combinations to the body. He'll rip two shots to then circle out and then go back to the body again. He's got a really good straight left hand to the body, which is a great move for a southpaw. And just with the way that Bivol moves and the reach advantage that Zurdo has, that can make this a lot more interesting.
Yeah, Zurdo, 35% of his landed punches are body shots. Bivol is only 16%. CompuBox average is around 30. So you're right. Ramirez does go to the body. It's just your prototypical Mexican, body puncher and prototypical Mexican combination puncher. 65 punches around in his career, but upped it to about over 70 since he's been at lightweight. This fight's awesome. I'm getting even more and more excited the more we talk about it. Like you said, like a standalone. Yes, there is a Showtime fight at night. It is David Morrell, a very talented fighter, but has zero profile. This is the big fight of the weekend. It's the fight that boxing needs right at the moment. Like I said, having Oscar involved there, having Hearn there. Hopefully the winner of this fights Beterbiev next, and hopefully we also get a really good fight. It kind of sucks that it's in wherever it is, Saudi Arabia. I think that's where they are. Saudi or one of those. It's in the Middle East.
I was just talking to it's in Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi. I was just talking to Todd Grisham. He's there right now because he's calling the fight.
What a freaking trip that was. He could fly everywhere. That guy is going to do glory and kickboxing.
He's a beast.
I saw Mannix is out there too. That's a long fight. Obviously you fought in Macau. Is that the furthest you've ever traveled?
Yes. Yeah. I did call Pacquiao Matisse in Malaysia. I called that with Todd Grisham. That was a long trip. But
tell us about that.
Macau.
Tell us about running the streets with Todd Grisham.
Oh, that was some time. We ended up in a hospital in the morning.
Stop it. Really?
The show. Oh yeah.
Didn't he lose his passport?
I don't think that was that trip. I think I might have been a different trip, but I did leave before him, so that might have happened after I left. Man. But yeah, no, we hit the ground running and really didn't stop.
That's why
until it was time to leave.
That's why he's always texting us, Grisham, with these ridiculous ideas for our show. Like I should do it. We should do it topless one episode.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that would look good for him, not for me. Maybe Ronnie. Hi, Ronnie. You want to do the show topless next week?
Listen, whatever gets us eyes.
I mean, I'm not opposed.
Gail, love Gail. She's in the chat. First of all, she says, Ronnie, thank you for the audio fix. And she also says, Bivol works only as hard as he needs to work to win. He conserves his energy and won't make himself a target. It's smart, if not exciting. I think that's pretty damn spot on of a analysis from our friend Gail. That's what Bivol is, and we kind of know what he is at this point. He is a jab-first fighter with exceptional defense who has better than average power, but will not sell out in any round. He probably could have stopped Canelo at some point in that fight. Would you agree with that?
So, I don't know, because Canelo, if nothing else, he's durable, and he didn't really look hurt at any badly at any point during the fight. I was actually impressed with Bivol. He let his hands go more than I expected him to. Like there were times where Canelo was on the ropes and he was throwing 4 or 5 punch combinations. And that's the thing about Bivol. He will let his hands go if the opportunity presents itself. He's just very cautious and he takes his time to do that. But I think once he realized that Canelo could not hurt him, he just felt fine letting those hands go, especially later on. But yeah, no, I don't think he could. I mean, anything's possible. If you can hit a guy, you can stop him. But I didn't really see too many opportunities for that.
We'll see how big Zurdo enters the ring. Weigh-in is on Friday. Big
It's
guy.
like 204 to 206.
Right. On fight night?
Yeah.
They don't really do that anymore. HBO used to get your fight night weight. They don't do that anymore. Is that because they just don't?
That's because of Arturo Gatti, because he would gain 22 pounds at 135 pounds.
Go into the ring as a middleweight? What's the
Yeah.
most weight you have put on from a weigh-in to a fight night?
I've been always pretty consistent. I actually put on more weight when I was younger. I don't know, like when you're, I guess, I don't know, your tissue is just more elastic or whatever when you're younger, your ability to hydrate or whatever the case may be. But like 16 pounds, 15, 16 pounds is usually where I would end up when I was fighting a 40. I'd be in the ring about 55, 56.
Love that. Big fight this weekend. I'm going Bivol decision. I don't know if it's going to be split or whether it's going to be unanimous. Lee Groves, a very respected researcher for us at CompuBox, who puts together all these numbers for us. He picked Gilberto Ramirez. Shocked by that.
I saw that. I read that. I was that got me excited. I was like, all right, Lee knows what he's talking about. That's makes this fight a little better, because on paper I was like, boring decision, unanimous for Bivol. But then now that I've done a little more research and you and I have talked about it, and I read what Lee, I was like, this could be a different kind of fight.
Yeah, shout out Lee Groves, puts together the best research packets for us at CompuBox and
he rocks.
And our partners, network partners. All right, that's the fight. Big fight this weekend. Also, David Morrell's fighting on Showtime. He wants to get a crack at Benavidez, really good 168-pounder who has like under 7 or 8 fights. He's huge in Minnesota. Yeah. Really weird that Minnesota is like a hotbed for boxing, but PBC has built that up. Jessica McCaskill is the co-main event on the Bivol-Zurdo card. She's fighting Chantel Cameron. That's a really good fight. So there's a couple of title fights on this Bivol card. So there is good boxing this weekend. That's what's going on in the boxing world on Saturday. Afternoon fight in the U.S. Because they're in Abu Dhabi. All right, finally, we teased it. Ronnie's ready. He's smiling. For those that are in the chat right now, Ronnie last week revealed that he's never seen a Rocky movie.
A Rocky movie, not one.
Any Rocky movie.
None.
So obviously we
blew our minds, obviously.
Blew our minds, number one. My mind is blown every day here at the John Boy office on things. Our friend Dan Rourke didn't know who Regis Philbin was.
I don't know who that is.
Ronnie doesn't know who Regis Philbin was. Didn't know Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Oh, I mean.
Well, I mean, he's 20 years old.
22.
22 years old.
Yeah.
But
when
anyway,
you were 2 years old, that show was popular.
It was very popular. It was like the biggest thing in the world at that.
Yeah.
The time that guy won the million for the first time, and instead of he had this lifeline, he didn't use any of his lifelines. He used his last phoner friend to call his dad to tell him that I'm a millionaire.
No way.
It was the most insane
that
moment. It was live
badass.
too. It was badass. It was like, what? And like
Wow.
all these people kept failing.
He knows it that well. He's that sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All these
That's
people
kinda
kept
baller.
failing for like 2 months. Everyone kept getting closer and closer and not getting it. And this guy, he blew through it all. But this isn't a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire segment.
No.
This is a
Definitely
Rocky.
move.
This is a Rocky segment. So Ronnie's never seen Rocky until last night.
Yeah.
Him and his girlfriend popped it in.
And
they put on the Rocky movie. And
That's a t-shirt.
Ronnie, the floor is yours. What are your thoughts on Best Picture from 1976?
So
Rocky.
Here's a little backstory. So I actually popped it in last night.
Congrats.
And I fell asleep.
Oh, good start.
Fell asleep.
Go on.
It was late. It was late night, and then I popped it back in this morning.
Oh, okay.
And I finished it this morning before coming into the office.
Pop and finish.
So, thoughts on Rocky 1. First off the bat, the first 30 minutes are useless. First 30 minutes are absolutely useless in the movie. It adds basically nothing. It started off so slow. That's why I fell asleep late night last night, because I was just not captivated. The first 30 minutes are only Rocky just walking places.
Yeah.
He is just walking from.
Can't afford a car, man. He's down and out.
It was the 70s. I mean,
Gas was expensive. There was gas shortage.
I know they wanted to portray him as like, oh, this guy gets around. He's a knee breaker, and he's a boxer. The first kind of boxing sequence was okay. It kind of sets the mood, but like the first 35 minutes, I can do without. I am also kind of like, I went to school. I studied film. So I kind of my opinions are almost nothing. But I did study film a little bit in terms of like storytelling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
First 30 minutes, absolutely a wash. Don't need it. Didn't like it. Did not do anything for me. Next up, I felt like the movie was rushed.
Interesting.
The movie was definitely rushed.
Chris is getting redder and redder by the second.
The first bit, like like I said, the first 30 minutes are don't need, and then it kind of like gets into a little bit of a groove with the whole Apollo Creed thing. I wanted to see a little more Apollo Creed. I feel like there wasn't enough Apollo Creed.
Right. First time you see him is that like he's watching.
Yes, he's watching
TV.
the press conference, and
he's so awesome, that character.
Yes.
And he's Ali. It's
Right.
amazing.
he's great. I wanted to see more. He was a very intelligent man, very good vocabulary, and they kind of set him up to be kind of like this nice villain. Like he was a good good antagonist, if you will. But then you don't see him until they sprinkle him in, and where Rocky's punching the meat bag on live TV,
Yeah.
and then they're like, "Oh, Apollo, you better come see this guy." And he's like, "Oh, I don't gotta see him." But like that scene, I feel like they should have elaborated more on that.
Mm-hmm.
They should have, had Apollo Creed be like, maybe I should take this guy seriously or whatever. Didn't. I wanted to see more Apollo Creed. Once we get to the fight at the end, I was hyped.
Yes.
The juices were flowing. Everything was great. And then that first knockdown, oh my goodness.
Yes.
That first knockdown, I jolted up. It was like 9.
Better than coffee.
It was like 9 a.m. this morning. I was like, all right, this is what I want. This was a slow burn up until this point. I'm like, let's do it. Give me more of this. First knockdown, it was great. And by the way, the entrance for Creed was hilarious. It was so over the top.
Living in America.
It might have been a little bit too over the top. I don't know. This was the 70s. So I do
Yes,
acknowledge
exactly.
this is the 70s. So that's how the movies were made back then. It was slow. And it was very how do you say? He came in as George Washington. At first I thought it was Columbus.
Before Columbus got canceled.
Yeah. But it was George Washington, and he kind of was a little too showboaty for being an intelligent man. They did portray him as a guy that loved America so much. It was a little too like gimmicky, a little too black man dance for the American crowd type.
Okay.
All
right.
So that the outfit is just obnoxious.
Really?
It's insane.
It's an insane outfit, dude.
It's a Halloween costume.
Yes, it was a Halloween
Right
costume.
here.
For a lot of people now.
Yeah. For a second, I thought he was going to fight in the costume. That's how long he had it for. And then he kept saying, I want you, because he was Uncle Sam. I want you. I want you. I want the
You
Italian
already got
Sam."
him. He's in the ring.
Yeah, he's there. He can't. That was a little. Yeah. But first knockdown was great. It was great. But then they did a little montage as like time passed by. I kind of wanted to see more of that. They rushed the fight, honestly. After the first knockdown, they rushed the fight, and then the ending happened. And for a second, I was like, wait, who won? I heard split decision.
Yeah.
I heard they kept saying, oh, I'm pretty sure Apollo Creed won. Right?
Chris?
Did he win?
Yeah.
I was uncertain. And I did not like the ending at all. I did not
I always say like number 1 and number 2 is like one movie, and they just couldn't
Okay.
make a movie that long.
Okay. So, see, look, now that's next week. I'm going to be watching Rocky 2.
With that being said, didn't like the story. Thought it should have got it more into the fight scenes.
Yeah.
I think they also obviously it's a great movie. You're being a little harsh.
It's a good movie.
Yes.
It's a good movie.
I also think
it's like Dan said initially. It's like not a boxing movie.
it's not.
a film.
That's what I think.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
that they went into it saying it's going to be more of like a story with a little bit of boxing sprinkled in, and then people loved it so much that they completely kind of flipped it to make it like more boxing and then less of a story.
Yes.
Which all
Well, I think
franchises.
that's exactly what Ronnie just said. He was like, the beginning was slow, and it was a slow burn, and then the boxing end, I got excited. Like that, I think everyone saw that movie at the beginning. We're like, oh man, that fight scene was amazing. I wish there was more boxing in that. And then the next films are all boxing.
The training montage was obviously iconic. I love that part.
Yeah.
Great
Those are really
montage.
good.
They
The
get
music, when he was at the steps and he did the whole thing. Yeah, I'm like, oh, now I seen posters of this all the time, and that makes sense. The ending of the what was that, the promoter reading out the judges' cards. He was doing that as he was just screaming, Adrian, Adrian, where are you? And she just comes, I love you, Rocky.
Yeah.
And then the movie just ends.
It's over.
I was just like, that's it?
Best picture.
and then that won Best Picture. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I did not. I wanted more. I guess their purpose is to make you want more. I guess for Rocky 2, but him reading out the cards and I guess saying that Apollo Creed won, and then him screaming Adrian, I felt it was a clunky ending. But all in all,
Yeah, would you rate it out of 10?
oh boy, rated out of 10, I'll give it a 7.
7.
Give it a 7. Another thing is, I feel like for you guys, you're more emotionally invested in the movie because you saw it younger, right? And it was kind of like when you first see it, it's like, oh, this is great.
They're
But,
kids.
yeah, but now I'm kind of looking at it with a more of a critique, and may sound harsh, but all in all, it was a really good movie. I liked it. Dude, Rocky Balboa characters, oh, it was great. Rocky, how'd you fight? Oh, it was great. You should have seen me. Oh.
Gail says, spot on, Ronnie. Look forward to more boxing film reviews. Yeah, we're doing every one. I mean,
Yes.
Rocky. It's going to be a long off season. The Yankees are out. Baseball's about to end.
I still think we should watch 4 together.
Well, if we can figure out a way, you're going to come here in December. For we have some big plans, some content plans. We gotta watch one of them together in the lounge.
I'm excited for 4 because I've heard
4 is the most fun.
I've heard so many things about 4, but I'm hooked into the Rocky series, and I really want to see Creed as well.
Yeah, Creed Creed.
Dude,
is
you got to
pretty
run
sick.
through them all.
Yeah.
It really is like you can't just watch one because they just they're all so different and they all grow. The timeline, the storyline's linear. It's very linear.
Okay.
Especially in the first few. Like I said, like the 1 and 2 is really one movie because it's still Apollo Creed. It's not. They don't bring in. It's not like a new foil.
Don't give him any spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so it's like you get more of a finality to that because I think that was part of the first one's allure is, and you mentioned the reading the scorecard and Rocky not even caring and looking for Adrian. Yeah. I love that because it's just like it doesn't matter if he won or lost.
He just wanted to go to distance.
He won. He spiritually won. He he morally won. Whatever. Like, he wasn't supposed to even be there.
Right.
He was never supposed to be there. He definitely wasn't supposed to make it to the end of the fight. He wasn't supposed to be competitive. And like he just kind of proved like his shitty life to the love of his life. That look, I do this for real. Like I'm not. That hit me really hard because I think a lot of my family was like, "Why are you fighting? Like you can go do other million. Like this isn't gonna like why?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna be world champion." They're like, "Yeah, okay." So like I that hit so hard to me because it's just like I did it, like I proved everyone wrong. I belong to be here, and my love, I'm not wasting your time. Like this is for a reason.
I love that.
Yeah.
So that scene I actually really love.
My final
you feel
comment.
shitty now, Ronnie?
I feel so shitty. I mean, my opinions. I'm Yo-Yo Bumchuck. Like my opinions mean nothing to any. Like
that's not true. It's very fascinating.
That's not true.
Very fascinating to hear your thoughts on it. It's like very fascinating.
Final
very
comment during the fight when his eye was closed shut and they cut it open. That was cool.
Cut me, Mick.
Cut me. Such bullshit.
Yeah, I'm sure that has never happened.
Gets
never
crazier.
happened.
So during the early days of COVID and the quarantine, I went back and I watched every fight from Rocky, every series, and I did the stats.
Yeah,
on them.
you counted.
And I did it,
wow.
and I wrote a story, and it like blew out. Like our server couldn't crash because so many people went to the story. Like Max Kellerman talked about it or on the show or First Take, whatever, retweeted it. Bill
awesome.
Simmons and all these guys. I'm pulling up now. It's on Forbes. Did a story on it. In the first Creed versus Balboa fight in the original Rocky, a fight Creed narrowly won by decision. Creed landed 25 punches, including an unheard of 84% of his jabs on Balboa in the first round.
Yeah.
Balboa landed only 3 punches in the first round, only threw 1 overall in the first 2 minutes of the fight. In the final round, Balboa hit Creed with 13 body shots, but somehow Creed survived to win. The stats grew even more ridiculous in the we're getting into 2. But yeah, I went back and I went and did all the numbers. They get even more and more like it's pretty much shows you the stats show how ridiculous the franchise got.
Yeah.
Because the numbers started getting like 75 of 76. Like it started getting like insane, but that was fun.
Did you do the street fight with Tommy Gunn?
No, that's the only one I didn't do.
That fight isn't. They're bare knuckle and they're fighting in the street and they're landing like running haymakers on each other.
I had to draw a line somewhere and I kept it to only in ring action, but that just brought back memories of the early day of quarantine. Yikes.
Yeah, dude. Rocky did not have his hands up. I don't know what it was. He was just kept taking jabs with his hands down.
84% of them.
Yeah.
From Creed.
Ronnie, do you remember The Simpsons? I know this is way.
Yes, I know The Simpsons.
So there was an episode where Homer became a boxing prospect,
Okay.
and his move was he would just take punches until the other guy got tired and fell over. that's part of what.
That's like the
style
gif where
was.
he falls flat in his face. I think a lot of fighters use that, like wait him out.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, that's the show.
all I have.
Ronnie's Rocky review. Wow, we're gonna have to clip out a bunch of those because that was amazing. Next week, on Sunday, we have Monday morning there will be another show. Or my friend here, Garguga, says Tony Bellew is back in Creed 3. Yeah, I saw that. Creed 3 trailer is out. Kind of inspired this segment. But Monday, we're back with a review episode and some topics. Next week, we preview some of the fights that are upcoming on the schedule. Ronnie will have another Rocky review. Rocky 2.
Rocky 2. The squeakle.
The squeakle is coming your way. Thank you, everyone, for hanging tough through some of the audio issues. We ironed them out. We won't have those problems next week. As always, everyone, keep your hands up, protect yourselves at all times, and stay out of those DMs. We out.